Hey, what's going on, guys? Kevin is here. Welcome to KL Experience episode number 5. I hope all of you guys are having a great day today. And as always is the case, I'm really excited to record this week's episode. So I got an email the other day from someone at Rutgers University asking if I would be interested in coming in this upcoming Saturday, actually, to do a workshop for the Rutgers engineering students, part of the Minority Engineering Educational Task Meet organization that I was a part of, actually, when I was at Rutgers studying engineering. Way back when, which seems like not that long ago, but it was quite a while ago. Like I think 12 years ago, I was at Rutgers. So just for a little bit of context, I've done some workshops with them in the past. So this email was a little bit different in that the person wanted to see if I was interested in talking about the transition from engineering to becoming a teacher, as well as being an entrepreneur. I was really excited, as you could imagine, from getting that invitation. So I agreed, of course, to do it. And so what this whole thing made me think about a little bit was on one of the workshops that I did before, it was really good. We broke it up into different things, some personal development, some professional development. And today I wanted to talk about one of the topics that we talked about in one of those workshops that I feel was definitely very relevant to the audience there, being college students who were, some of the students were having their first internships, some of the students were getting ready to graduate and actually had some full-time job offers on the table already. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this topic that was near and dear to me because it's something that was shared with me a few years into working at Verizon. And it was something that was very profound. It changed the way that I operated on a daily basis while working there. This topic is something that I want you guys to take with you for the rest of your professional lives while you guys are still working. A lot of us probably have heard the term, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And this topic that we're going to talk about is kind of revolved around that a little bit, but I actually disagree with that topic because you do need to know something too. You don't just need to know someone, you do need to know something too. This topic is talking about something called the PI model. It's an acronym that stands for 3 different things: performance, image, and exposure. So these 3 things are what was shared with me several years ago about just being the 3 things that we need to be really, really focused on in your professional lives in order to reach whatever goal it is that you may have. The P stands for performance, and that's basically talking about how good are you and how effective are you and how proficient are you at doing your actual job? Do you understand how to do it? Do you excel at it? Are you someone that can be relied upon from the perspective of knowing what he or she is doing on a daily basis with their actual job function? So that's what performance is all about. I stands for image. And so the image is talking a little bit about how do people perceive you? How do people see you? Do they see you as someone who's easy to work with, someone who's difficult to work with, or somewhere in the middle? That's kind of something that sometimes we can be in tune with, and other times we may think that we know what our image is, but we may not actually know what it is. And we're going to talk a little bit about some things that you can do to understand that a little bit better. So that's the performance, that's the image, and then the E stands for exposure. So the exposure is talking about who knows you, who knows who you are. Do important people know who you are? Do people that are, decision makers in a company know who you are? All right, so we have our performance, we have our image, and we have our exposure. In this workshop, we talked a little bit about a PI model: performance, image, and exposure. So as we're first starting, we're working at maybe an internship or maybe the first day on the job or first few weeks or months on a specific job, we need to be focused on our performance more than those other 2 components. Why is that? Because people are going to be looking at you to see what kind of worker are you? Are you someone who's working hard? Are you someone who's working smart? Someone who's reliable? Someone who's getting things done? So when we're first starting out, we need to be ultra focused on not climbing the corporate ladder or anything like that. We need to be focused on just understanding what it is that we're doing at the job and doing as great a job as possible as we can while we're there, right? The image and the exposure are both important at this point, but not nearly as important as the performance is at this particular point in time. So as we're moving on, we're just going to talk about two stages today. We're going to talk about when you first start and then when you kind of have established yourself, right? So first starting out, performance is a lot more important than image and exposure. And as you're working at this position for a while, the exposure that you have, meaning the people that know you, is going to become a lot more important as you spend more and more time at a specific company or place that you're working at, because these are the people who are going to help you be able to make connections and help you be able to ultimately reach your goal. If that goal is a promotion that you're looking for, even working somewhere different, a lateral move, but just doing something different, these are decision makers that are going to have some power and some influence over what can happen. So we want to say that as you're working, we want to say the exposure becomes more important. So what are some things that you can do to get more exposure? Is do things to get noticed. First of all, your manager has a major part of helping you get the exposure that you need, and just work through different ways, different strategies. Be resourceful about figuring ways to get your name out there so people know who you are. If you're at the gym, for example, if you're working at a company that has a gym there, like was the case with me, going to the gym gives you a perfect opportunity to network and get to know people. So you definitely want to network as much as you can. That's a little bit about exposure. You guys can let me know in the comments actually below, what are some other ways that you've been able to get some sort of, impactful exposure in the companies that you work for. I'd love to kind of continue that dialogue below. And then you have the image. Your image is how people perceive you. So let me tell you guys a story. So at one of my previous roles, there was an individual there who was a stellar worker, and he knew how to do what he was doing really well, and people kind of relied on him for help and things like that. And this person wanted to eventually move up into a different position, so he started interviewing, and he was never ever able to get this promotion that he was looking for. And so he decided to speak to upper management to have a meeting to say, hey, do you have any feedback for me about why is it that, why do you think that it's so difficult for me to get this next position? I've been here for several years now. I've been doing what I need to do, working hard, and he just was not able to take that leap. And the reason for that is because the feedback that was given was that he was very, very hard to work with. He was a difficult person to work with, and teams just didn't want to bring on a difficult person to work with into their organization, because that can cause all other types of problems and things like that, as you could imagine. So even if you know what you're doing, it's still very, very difficult convincing someone that you're the right guy for the job because of the fact that your image is not where it needs to be. This might sound a little bit controversial. If you're someone who you know that your personality is one that people kind of are attracted to, they enjoy talking to, and all that kind of thing, then your image is going to kind of show in a way naturally, right? When you're at work, you're not going to have to put on a front, which, let's just say it like it is. Like there are people out there who do need to not be their normal self when they're at work, and that takes a lot of energy to have to put on a different persona or something at work, because who you really are, who you truly are, is unpleasant to be around. And again, that might sound a little bit harsh possibly, so I apologize. I'm not trying to offend anyone. But I do think that it's important to note that, right? When you talk about image, if you're someone who people enjoy talking to and they kind of gravitate towards, then your image is going to be very, very easy to be a positive attribute for you, because it's just going to kind of come naturally. But if that's not the case necessarily, you want to definitely consider what are some things that you can do that are a little bit out your comfort zone. For example, you're at the kitchen sink, your common area kitchen sink, washing your dish out. This is something I did often because I brought lunch to work a lot. But you're washing it out and someone else walks by. Are you going to have a conversation with them, or are you not going to say anything to them? You definitely want to just be aware that your image is how people perceive you. And we talked before, you may think your image is really stellar, but maybe it might not be. And one of the ways that you could do this, we talked about this in one of the earlier episodes, is you can certainly ask people. You can get that feedback from people. How am I doing? How do you think I'm kind of doing in this particular role? And hopefully the person is honest with you, as honest as they can be, and give you some honest feedback. And that kind of question would take someone aback a little bit, like, wow, like, okay, this is a direct question. A lot of people aren't as direct like that, so that's going to stand out. And most often, I believe that person would be willing to give you some valuable feedback about yourself, and then it's up to you at that point to do something with that feedback, of course, right? So just to kind of summarize, we have the pie model, we have performance, we have image, we have exposure, and we have that the performance is the most important thing when you first start out at an internship or a co-op or a full-time job even. And the image and the exposure are both important, but not nearly as important as the performance. And as you spend more years at the company and as your performance kind of speaks for itself, I'm not saying that you can slack off, but you could put a little less emphasis or focus on that and spend more time focusing on how am I networking with the right people and what am I doing to make sure that my image is what I want it to be, to other people. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Take that with you and definitely apply that wherever you work, because these are topics that are just very important, I think. I'm excited for people to see this video because I think a lot of people that I've shared this with were not aware of this topic at all. And it resonated for sure with my audience last year and the year before when I spoke to them at the Rutgers workshop that I mentioned. And it definitely works. It 100% worked for me and kind of helped me make some things happen that ultimately got me to, reach my highest aspirations that I really could have imagined while working at Verizon. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful for. So with that, that is the end of the episode. Definitely let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this pie model. Have you guys ever heard of it before? And is this something that, you plan to use in your professional lives? Or is this something that you may be already using and this was just kind of like a little bit of a reminder that, okay, I want to spend some more time focusing on that, all right? So I appreciate you guys again. Have a great rest of the day or evening whenever you're watching this. And I'm going to end this out now with a little song on the piano.